Hi, everyone. Welcome to this week's weekly live immigration attorney chat here at Immigration for Couples. I'm attorney Megan Pastrana, and I'm happy to be with all of you here today. I see we already have a lot of people watching us live, and the questions are already starting, so that's great. Before we dive in, if you are new, welcome. It's great to have you here. Immigration for Couples, my firm, my team, and I, we are dedicated exclusively to helping couples across the nation and across the world and navigating the US immigration process. And if you are just starting out in your immigration journey, or if you're in the middle, this is a great community to be in. We host these weekly live chats because we know that it can be very overwhelming going through an immigration process. It's nothing short of a labyrinth. And so we host these weekly live chats here on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, and Instagram, and I answer your questions live. And we also have a free resource center. You'll see that at the bottom at immigrationforcouples.com. And I have a webinar in there that I created that goes over the different options that are available to couples who are just starting out, the different paths, and how you prove your relationship and how to not only survive, but thrive in that immigration journey. All right. And so for those of you who are regular viewers, you know the drill. Let me know. I'd love to hear from all of you. Where are you at in the world? Where are you at in your immigration journey? And how are you doing? If you want to answer all those questions, that's great. If you want to answer just one or two of them, that's fine too. And if you're watching this on the replay, please do a hashtag replay and answer those questions. And also let me know what questions do you have? So if I'm not able to get to them, if you weren't able to join us live, then maybe I can go over them on our next live session. All right. So Ginger, good morning to you as well. You're in the UK and you just got your first notice of action. So the receipt notice. So now the wait begins. Yes. But think of it as one day closer. Try to focus on that more than the length of the overall journey. Just celebrate the little wins. Celebrating those will be very helpful in your mindset. So that's great. Congratulations on getting that first step filed. Great to have you with us. All right. Betty, great to have you back. We know you're in Canada. All right. So let's see who else. Lisa, good morning. Glad to have you with us. Oh, wondering what you're doing right now because, oh, there you are. You always let us know what you're doing. So awesome. Great to have you. Let's see here. And I think I saw Steph. Good morning to you as well. So glad to have you here. Oh, that's great. You've been watching on the replays, but you're getting to be here with us live. So we're really excited to have you here today. Fantastic. Okay. And so I will definitely get to your question, but I just wanted to highlight that you're good morning, that you're in the Philippines. So that's great. Welcome. Glad to have you with us. All right. So keep those coming. Let me know where you're at in the world. Where are you at in your immigration journey? And how are you all doing? That's a really important question because I know it can be stressful, especially right now. So let's dive into our very first questions. And then Ria, you are helping me since I am streaming on four different platforms. Ria, you're helping me with Instagram. So I have our chat open here. So if you just want to message me on GChat if anyone has any questions, or you can post them in the comments as well so I can get to those. So Maria, great to have you with us. So you have a 2-year green card, and you're wondering if you should be worried about the current administration. And I actually recently did a webinar with my clients to talk about these concerns. And so I'll share some of what I discussed in that webinar, specifically as it relates to green card holders traveling internationally, because I think that's where a lot of the biggest questions and concerns I'm receiving are from individuals who have not just temporary green cards, the 2-year green cards, but also this advice goes for those with a 10-year green card as well. So if you have a green card, whether it's a permanent or 10-year or a conditional 2-year, I know there's a lot of concerns regarding that international travel and some of the things, you may have heard in the media. And so the starting point is that as a green card holder, legally, you are able to travel internationally. You're able to leave the country and travel. And another starting point is that there's always been certain categories of individuals with a green card who are more at risk for international travel. And some of those main categories are, first and foremost, anyone who has a prior criminal convictions or a more new or recent criminal incident that occurred post green card. And there are some criminal incidences or convictions that one might not even think about as being an issue. But there's a very long list of grounds, what they call grounds of deportability. And so just to kind of give you a 30,000 foot overview, criminal history, pre-green card or post-green card puts that individual in a category that's a higher risk for travel. And I did make a very long video on the YouTube channel. And Ria, maybe you could find that video, and I talk about traveling on a green card and really go over even more detailed different grounds of deportability. But first, criminal history. Second, if an individual is currently in removal proceedings, so that means if you are in immigration court in front of an immigration judge, someone with a green card is at a higher risk. They should not be traveling internationally. And another category that makes an individual with a green card at higher risk is someone who has taken trips outside of the U.S. previously for more than 6 months. Or if you're planning on taking a trip outside of the U.S. for more than 6 months. The reason that is a category of risk is because as a green card holder, you are supposed to be living in the United States. You're supposed to be living in the United States basically full time. You can't be living half of your time in the U.S. and half the time somewhere else. You have to be living in the U.S. And if you take trips that are more than 6 months, that can jeopardize your green card, because immigration will consider that as abandonment. And it becomes a really big issue if you're gone for more than a year. So starting point again, you can travel internationally with a green card, and then those are the categories that are more risky. And another category that I wanted to add into is removal of conditions. If you haven't timely filed your removal of conditions, you should not travel internationally. It becomes more risky. So from there, the part where all of this worry and concern is originating, and it's justified, and I completely understand why individuals are feeling unnerved and uncertain about travel. It's because this current administration has shown time and time again, hey, here's the law, here's the parameters of the law, and they really are testing those limits and taking actions and doing things where they're going beyond the limits of the law. And the New York Times had a really great article where they kind of showed where this administration is really testing the limits of the law. And so that's where the uncertainty comes in. And so should you be worried? Should you be concerned about international travel? And in general, we should be aware and educated and alert of the things that this administration is doing. But I also don't want you or anyone to be living in this constant state of fear and paralysis, because you can't make rational, clear-headed decisions. So it really comes down to talking with your immigration attorney, if you have an immigration attorney, understanding those categories of risk, determining whether or not you fall into those more high-risk categories. And then if you don't, understand that this administration is, testing the limits of the law, and then assessing your own personal risk tolerance before you make a decision to travel. And also, if you do decide to travel internationally, knowing your rights. And so some of the main rights that I've reviewed with my clients, first and foremost, when you're re-entering the United States, or if you have contact with immigration, of course, be polite and respectful in your responses. Answer only the questions that they are asking you. Don't divulge additional details or information. If they try to get you to sign something, refuse to sign any documents, respectfully refuse to sign any documents that they put in front of you. Because one of the things that's important to understand is when you're coming into the country, if CBP is giving you a hard time, CBP Customs, they are not in a position legally where they can take away someone's green card. They can't end someone's green card status. That's something that has to go in front of an immigration judge as part of due process. But there are situations where they could try to get someone to sign a form that's basically abandoning their green card. And so that's why it's very important not to sign any documents, respectfully decline. And then also just understanding that you have that right to go in front of an immigration judge. So if they're giving you a particularly hard time, if they're threatening you, if you were to be detained upon reentry, things like that. To self-advocate, you can ask to speak with an attorney. Typically, they're going to deny you that. But then also asking to be referred to an immigration judge if they think that there are issues with your green card. So, Maria, that was a super long answer, but it's a very dense topic. And I figured a lot of people have this question. So I thought, let's go ahead and let's just go through all of those details. So hopefully that'll help answer other people's questions too. You're very welcome. Oh, and you purchased a home. Yeah, and that's why I want to help educate all of you, and so you can be empowered, because I definitely don't live all of us need to pay attention, right? We need to pay attention to what's happening in our country. We need to pay attention to potential violations of the law. We need to be advocates for change and ensure our voices are heard, but we need to make sure that we are coming from a place that fear that we have is a normal. The fear you have is a normal biological response. I'm not telling you get rid of that. That's something we should all pay attention to, but we shouldn't completely, or always rather, be reacting from that place. So I don't want that for any of us. So I'm glad that gave you some calm and reassurance. Thank you for being with us, and thank you for that question. Hopefully that helped others also. That was a big question. Okay. So, Lauren, you're wanting to know any trips for being approved for the entire 180 days of a tourist visa. So I assume you mean that you already have the visa and that you're coming for a visit, and you're wanting to know, if you were wanting to come for that long of a visit, what can you do to increase your chances, or rather mitigate risks. So another big conversation I'm having with clients is that if you currently have a pending spouse or fiance visa case, or if you currently have a fiance or spouse in the United States, and you are trying to travel to the United States on a tourist visa or ESTA, it's important to understand that every entry, even without all of the craziness that's happening right now with immigration and the current administration, every entry has always been discretionary. So that means when you enter, it's your burden to prove to the immigration officials that you are only planning on having a very short trip in the United States, that you're here for vacation, you are not coming here to live. And so the concern with individuals who have a spouse or a fiance here, or have a pending spouse or fiance visa case, is that with that application for a spouse or a fiance visa, or that connection to the US, that relationship, that's really telling immigration, or demonstrating what they call immigrant intent, which means you have an intent to come and live here, which you can't have that with a tourist visa or ESTA, and that's where it gets sticky. So I would definitely say, if I had a client who were asking me, can I come for 180 days? I would caution that it's going to make it very difficult for immigration to really understand or see that is going to be a short vacation or trip. Yes, you do have permission on a tourist visa to stay up to 6 months, but you need to ensure that you can prove to immigration, this really, I'm not coming here to attempt to live while I'm waiting on a decision on my case. I'm just coming here for a visit. So tips would be, I would really encourage you to have a shorter trip. I know you'd like to be able to use the full amount of time. 180 days is not guaranteed. It's basically it's a rule of how long you could stay per trip, but it doesn't mean that you're going to be, guaranteed that. So the more you can show immigration that you have the ability to support yourself here, that you don't have any plans to live here, that you have things that are pulling you back home, a job, obligations, medical reasons, whatever that might be in your particular situation, you'll need to have proof of that. And you'll need to be prepared. Something I'm telling my clients about a lot more, that's something that we've seen as a shift, is you need to be prepared for some pretty difficult questions. It was always possible that you could come into the country on a tourist visa or ESTA and be given a difficult time. And there always exists a possibility that they could refuse you that entry. But we're seeing that they're being even more aggressive and reviewing people's entries, and they can refuse you your entry. And if they do, you should ask to withdraw your admission. In a very extreme and possible worst case situation, immigration can give you something called expedited removal, which is essentially a deportation. So it's really important to understand. Again, it's going to come down, just like Maria's question, to your own personal risk tolerance. And if you decide to travel, making sure that you have proof and that you can show that this is only a short trip, and be prepared that if you are in a difficult situation, if they're not wanting to let you in, that you ask to withdraw your admission. All right. So I hope that that helps. Again, that's another long answer to your question, but okay, perfect. Good. I'm glad that that was helpful. But I know everybody's asking those questions, and so I thought let me go over that here. All right. Okay. So your file, you say your file's at the embassy now, and you're just wanting to ask how to answer the social media part of the visa appointment application. Thank you so much. Honestly, answer it honestly. Yeah, so I know that they ask for social media. They ask for your social media on the DS-160. That was a change a while back because immigration officers want to check out your social media and confirm you have a real relationship. So my answer is, if you have social media and any social media platforms, you need to disclose all that information honestly. So, okay. All right. So, Ken in Texas, great to have you with us. And you are wanting to know about the CENIMAR, the Certificate of Non-Marriage. Do you need to have that before you start working with our firm? Court order says they will issue her a single CENIMAR, but keep saying mid May. So I am assuming that you probably are going through, or rather, went through an annulment process probably, and are needing to get that updated CENIMAR. So no, we always tell individuals, getting started with your case, even if you don't have all of the documents yet, is a really good idea, because there might be other documents you don't realize you need, or maybe you're going to need help with navigating the CENIMAR and things that you're receiving from the court. So the answer is no. You don't have to have all of the documentation. That's our job. We're going to help make sure that you are collecting and providing all of the evidence that's needed to prepare the strongest case possible. But it's great that you are working on that, and it sounds like you're getting closer. So, and I know for our clients in the Philippines, when they're needing to get documents like that, it takes a lot of patience, because that just kind of like with U.S. immigration, sometimes things take longer than they estimate. So, but yeah, we can definitely help you even if you don't have everything yet. All right, let's see who is next. Maria, great to have you here. Good morning to you as well. All right, so you want to know, it's been over a year since you've submitted the I-130. Is it a good idea to contact USCIS if you haven't heard anything yet? So I-130s, their current estimated wait time is 17 months. For most of our clients, we're getting a decision in about 14 months, give or take. Some sooner, some take a little longer. Typically, USCIS will only let you contact them if the case is outside of normal processing times. And it doesn't sound like your case is outside of normal processing time, so there's really no tool or mechanism for you to communicate with them and to check on the status of the case. I would encourage you, check your I-130 receipt notice. I don't know what category you're in. I'm assuming, since you're here in our community, that it must be the spouse-based I-130. But, checking the USCIS processing times, there's a tool on their website where you can put in your receipt notice, and it gives you, their general, hey, we're looking at your case. And then they also have processing time, so you can see a general idea of when you're allowed or when you're able to reach out when they're considered outside of normal processing times. So, all right. Oh no. So you said your case was returned by USCIS and you don't know why it was returned. I don't know either, but that's something that we can definitely help you with. Ria can give you our contact information. You're welcome to call the office, and she can get you on my calendar, and we can talk about your case in more detail. There's a lot of different reasons that a case can be rejected without seeing the notice, without seeing your application. I can't say conclusively, but definitely if it's your removal of conditions case, it's imperative that it's refiled as soon as possible, so you don't file late. You need to file in that filing window. Oh, Phil, yeah, and it's good morning to you as well. So yeah, and Phil and Ann, I know you're saying that there's a lot of changes to the green card process, and there's a lot of bloggers that seem to be stirring up a lot of panic. Yeah, and that's really unfortunate. I see that a lot too. I actually recently had a friend reach out to me and say, "Oh my gosh, I saw this post on Twitter." I know it's called X. I will always call it Twitter. And it said that green cards are no longer guaranteed for people who are married or engaged, and it made it seem like it was really going to be impossible for couples to get through the process. And I said, "Oh, that's really just clickbait." And I'm glad you reached out. And my friend and I were just talking about it. She's not going through an immigration case or anything, but she said she thought about me when she saw it. And I said, "Yeah, it's unfortunate that people are getting our attention through fear. And the reality is that green cards were never guaranteed. There's a process that couples have to go through to prove that you're eligible, to prove your relationship." So it was a very misleading post. And so my point is, yeah, Phil, I see that a lot, and it's really unfortunate. And that's why I said at the beginning here when I was answering Maria's question, is that my goal is to educate all of you. I'm not going to put on rose colored glasses and say everything's fine and everything's perfect, because there are a lot of issues in immigration. There's been issues for a long time that have needed to be improved. They're being aggravated by the current administration, and we need to pay attention to what's going on. And like I said, we need to advocate for change. But this culture, if you will, of scaring people and getting everybody to be in this state of fear, it's not a productive place for us to be, because like I said, we can't think clearly. So I know you're not asking a question, but you're prompting you're prompting me to share some of my thoughts. So please, all of you, it's important to be educated and informed. A lot of time social media, Facebook and places like that are not a good place to get news. I encourage all of you to really, if you see something that doesn't that scares you, if you do some research, look at newspapers, look at the immigration rules, and if you're not sure, bring your questions here, to these lives so we can go over them. But we definitely don't want all of us to be in this state of fear, because that's not a place from which we can advocate for change and clearly, assess the situation and respond instead of react. So, goodness, a little bit on my soapbox here. But yeah, I'm glad that you brought that up, Phil, because I definitely don't want all of us living in fear. Awareness, not fear. Oh, and Phil, this is very exciting. I'm glad you're asking this question. I say we, the Department of State just recently released a tool. Catherine and I and the entire legal team, were very happy about this tool. We are members of the American Immigration Lawyers Association. We have been advocating for this tool for years. And so this tool now and I just made a video about this that'll be released. This tool allows us to actually see a better idea of current wait times for interviews. It's awesome. It's fantastic. That's what we've been wanting. We needed more transparency. So there's the tool on the Department of State where you can check estimated wait times. And I know you're asking about that transfer to the embassy, but it prompted me to share about that tool as well. So that tool helps us see when a case is documentarily qualified, we can use that date, and then it tells us what date the embassy is scheduling interviews for that documentarily qualified date. So it's fantastic. And then the estimated wait time between the National Visa Center, dequeuing the case and transferring to the embassy, will really be largely dependent on that particular embassy or consular post. But this new tool will give us more insight. And I know, Phil, you said in your prior comment, Thailand. And so for our clients that have interviews in Thailand and Bangkok, typically the transfer is just a few months. Typically they've been a pretty efficient post and there haven't been long wait times. So that's just a general estimate. So thank you for your questions and your comments. I hope that was helpful for you, Phil and Ann. So, all right. Let's see who's next. So you're curious about when you need to file an adjustment of status after marriage on the K-1. I heard from some people it doesn't need to be within the 90 days. Is that true? Our policy, our goal for all of our clients is to file that application within the 90 days. Why? Because you've been given an I-94 and immigration has given you a 90-day window to get married and technically to file the adjustment. So for the best practice pointer, American Immigration Lawyers Association says this too. All of my colleagues, the goal is you really should get that adjustment filed in the 90 days. Are there situations where for whatever reason it's not possible? Yes. And you're kind of in this limbo state where you're not really in status, but you're not really undocumented. And it's just not a great area to be. You just don't want to be in that gray zone. So the short answer is yes, you could file it after the 90 days as long as you married in the 90 days, but it's not a great place to be in. And you really do want to strive to get that application filed in the 90 days. We start proactively preparing our clients' adjustment applications before they even enter and get married, so we can ensure that we file that immediately once marriage occurs and in that 90-day window. All right. So Rachel, you have a long question here, the long question that like makes me disappear. So, and good morning to you as well. You said your husband, you both got married by double proxy, 100% legal as a resident in Montana. So people stood in for you. We met in London for our honeymoon. Here's the issue. On the I-130, we will be saying we were married in Montana, but we will also be saying he has never been to the United States. You met in London for your honeymoon. I assume that you mean your honeymoon. Okay, so after your marriage. We chose this option so he would come here with things ready in place for him, and we didn't want to have a wedding ceremony without my... Oh, you're on Facebook and your question is very long, and so I can't see the rest. I think you are saying without your father or family present. So yeah, so proxy marriages, I've definitely helped clients to file applications that are based on proxy marriage. And I always explain the situation and make sure that we detailed evidence that you met after. Proxy marriages are tricky. Immigration typically does not prefer them, but the immigration laws do provide parameters for those who marry by proxy to be able to file. And so, and double proxy, it's a little bit more, even more tricky, right? But the main requirement, if you're married by proxy, and this includes Utah virtual marriage, even though it's not technically proxy, is that you have to prove consummation. And so how do you prove that? By proving that you were physically together after the wedding. And yeah, you definitely want to make sure that that's clear in your evidence and your submission. It's a balance. It's a balance of not over explaining things and giving details that aren't relevant and might not be helpful or could cause issues in the future when it comes to the interview. It's a balance between that and then just also making sure you're checking the boxes and in compliance with the law. So, the short answer is definitely in every proxy case I've ever filed, I make sure I outline, hey, this is the law regarding proxy marriages. Consummation is required to be proved. This is the evidence we have that supports this, i.e. evidence that you were physically together after the marriage. So great question. Yeah, proxy marriages, those are, so I got it. I knew it had to be one or the other without your family present. So I hope that helps, Rachel. Great question. Let's see. I can do a couple more questions here, and then I definitely need to jet for the day. So Hector, great to have you. You're in Georgia. You were married in Honduras in 2023. Wait time is down from 23 months to 9 months. I'm not sure the status of you as the petitioner for that application. That might be why it was such a long wait. And would bankruptcy affect your application? Bankruptcy is not going to necessarily affect the petition itself because you're proving, you have a real relationship based on love. But when it comes to the affidavit of support piece, it would definitely change strategy, because with your affidavit of support, you have to show that you are financially able to support your spouse. And depending on your current income and the impacts of that bankruptcy on your finances or the reason for the bankruptcy, you may need a joint sponsor. The short answer is it could impact that phase of the case, and it could impact the evidence you would need for the affidavit of support phase of the case, depending on your income at that time. All right. Okay. And I wanted to say, oh, and Maria, you're Canada now for now while waiting, praying it will be smooth and quick, praying for miracles. That's good. We're all sending you prayers and positive vibes too for you and for everyone. Hopefully you get a decision faster than what's estimated for sure. Okay. Your 2-year home, and I feel like I saw this question somewhere else, but maybe anyway. Anyway, so your 2-year home residency requirement will be completed by June. You have a CR1 visa interview scheduled for this coming week. You're anxious that it might be denied since I still have 1 more month remaining. Yeah, I mean, that's a valid concern. So you went through the residency requirement without asking for a waiver. It'll really depend on your adjudicator, how they want to handle that situation. Yeah, I mean, that's an interesting question. I've never had someone in that situation where an interview didn't happen until after that residency requirement. So it's an interesting question. It's going to depend on your adjudicator for your case, if they're going to be able to make a decision that day, or if they'll hold the file until the residency requirement is completed. Yeah, I without doing research and without seeing all of the details of your case, I can't conclusively say what'll happen or how to best prepare, but it will definitely determine on the adjudicator. You could always try reaching out to the consular post and asking if rescheduling your interview makes more sense, but that's a delicate thing because rescheduling can sometimes result in a much longer wait time. So yeah, interesting question. I don't have a conclusive idea of what will happen, but it'll depend on your officer. And like I said, that could be a possibility to reach out. So good luck to you though. I really hope that it doesn't complicate anything for you, especially since you have so little left on that residency requirement. So how long can your fiance stay? It depends on their I-94. So check on the I-94. They really have moved away from putting those in the passport, but you can look that up on the CBP I-94 website, and the I-94 will tell you how long an individual is allowed to stay in the U.S. It's always advisable to leave at minimum at least a few days before that, if not sooner, just to avoid any issues of a possible overstay with delayed flights and things like that. But yes, in general, the I-94 is what would tell you that date. Okay. Oh, good. Rachel, I'm glad that was helpful. Yes, you have a great week ahead as well, Maria. It looks like I had a few more questions I wasn't able to get to today, but I will be here next Tuesday at 11 a.m. Eastern time. And I will take a look at your questions, and a lot of times the questions you ask, it will give me, it gives me information of what you're needing to know, and then I can make videos for social media as well answering those questions. And Mohammed, Victor, and you were asking about the consultation. Ria can definitely help you. Ria can definitely help you with that. You can call the office 317-247-5040, ask for Ria, and she can help you understand what that looks like to get scheduled. Or you can book online as well. All right. And Ginger. Yes, you are very welcome, Ginger. And thank you for that feedback and for telling me I'm a superstar. I received that feedback. I appreciate that. And it was great to spend time with all of you here today. Have a great week. Take care of yourselves. Take care of your mental health. Hang in there. For those of you who have filed, just remember you're one day closer. Don't look at what's in front of you in terms of a wait. One day closer every day. Great to have you in this community. Have a good week, everyone. Take care. Bye.